to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast, where resilience is not just a concept, but a lived experience. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience coach, a marathoner, and a relentless believer in the human spirit's ability to rise. So, I have been having this podcast since last November, October, November, and this is the companion to my book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Each episode is raw, unfiltered dive into the stories of those who face life's hardest challenges and they have emerged stronger. So, when I was talking about podcast by itself, today's guest, Jon Emery, he's a well known face in the world of podcasting. What John does is incredible. He does a combination of coaching and podcasting that allows him to connect with so many different people. He has his podcast of his own, and he has been in this field for the last couple of years. This episode, let's dwell into what made John do what he's doing and the nitty gritties at times about podcast. A lot of us, I know that we would like to be on the side wherein we are asking questions and we want to know. Let's learn from John, as I would put it, as the questions maybe that you wanted to ask, but you were not too sure where to ask. So here we are. John, welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
Thomas, thank you for the introduction. It's great to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation and just see where you take it.
Fantastic. So, John, people get into a certain platform or certain lifestyle or certain work that they do through some, maybe it could be some upheavals or it could be a calling, it could be anything. What got you into this platform of podcasting?
Yeah, so I'll just take you back about 5 years where I
Sure.
lost where I lost my job after 20 years, and then I was told the word divorce, which would have been a 15-year marriage within the same year. Um, so that I kind of had to navigate through, and so an event was coming up not too far from me. It was a podcaster, but it wasn't on podcasting. It was about growth, right? So I went there the following year, and I sat at the breakfast table, not knowing who I was going to see in the morning, right? And so the host was there. He's like, come on over, join us. Everybody got up and left but me and this other guy, and I wish I remember his name. I don't remember his name. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, start a podcast. And he's like, well, do you have anything? I said, well, I have these 10 Facebook Lives. Which was like 2 years old because I was interviewing entrepreneurs, right? He's like, just strip the audio from that and, use that for your podcast. I said, well, that's not what I want my podcast to be. So I hesitated for 6 months, and I did exactly what he said to do. I wound up stripping the audio, and I just started with those 10, even though it has nothing to do with what the podcast is today. It was enough to get me going. So that's how I got started. And the reason why I wanted to do the podcast was to hear other people share their journey in life and how they navigated through whatever they went through, so that it can reach somebody else, so that they know that they're not alone. They can reach out to me, they can reach out to the guest or somebody else in their sphere and know that they can get help, right? And so that was my mission. It wasn't to create an audience, it wasn't to monetize or anything. And that is what allowed me to keep going as it is today.
Interesting. So the fact there were two instances, two um, points that you mentioned, that you went through a divorce and losing a job. Yeah, sure, it happens to many of us, and divorce also in the same year. But did that get you to a point that this is not the life I want? I want to do something different. Because in my podcast, when I'm asking my guests, I have a lot of amazing individuals who come up. They say is that, or I say is that, from our deepest of wounds comes our deepest of purpose. That's kind of paraphrased from Rumi, but that's what I believe, is that there has to be some wounds wherein the light starts shining, and that's where we realize, you know what, let me shine this light on somebody else also. so that there's something. So was the hurting so different that you said podcast? You could have, you were already working with different entrepreneurs. You already had a uh, job that you have been doing. So what really made you work towards podcast?
Maybe it made me go towards podcasting so that I can hear other people and I can grow as an individual too. Right. So you can come on, Thomas, share your journey. And now I get to take in whatever information I hear from you. I mean, 168 episodes, I think now. So it's just like, think of all the individuals I was able to meet all over the world, sharing their journey with me. And it's just been, it's amazing. Right. Um, and it's allowed me to become, I believe, a better communicator as far as listening and also talking, which allowed me to get on stages this year too, which is something I never had on my dream list, right? It was just something that let's just see what happens and just see where this thing takes me. And so that's what got me more involved in podcasting and to grow as a person, and I'm doing other things on the side now too. But it kind of stretched the limits, right? And you get out of your comfort zone. And, with me having to navigate through what I had to go through, um, I guess you could say, you're kind of looking for an outlet. And
Mhm.
what's a better outlet than podcasting where it's free? If you do it the right way, it's free. And anybody wants to be on a podcast, right? But, we have to decide for ourselves who that guest is going to be. But the network just grows from there and you can meet everybody all over the world. It's really fun.
Fantastic. So here the question you just mentioned, I mean, there were certain words that you mentioned. Oh, it is free, it is fun. So a lot of people, they see John, okay, your growth or my growth, okay, he's a podcaster, they are a podcaster. But for you to reach the stage, I would maybe use a word challenge you that was it smooth? Was it straight? Was it, if I was to ask, how was the journey of you becoming a podcaster from then until now?
How was the journey of me becoming? So, you're asking my growth as a podcaster,
Sure.
right?
And also, let me also add along with it is that, in fact, that would be the next question would be is that if anybody wants to get into this line,
Mhm.
what are the steps or what is the due diligence that they should be doing before they can jump into this platform?
Yeah. So, what allowed me to grow, we'll start with that and continue, is being consistent, always showing up, right? Whether you decide if it's going to be a daily show or twice a month or once a week or whatever, um, at least perform that. Say you're going to do it and do it, right? And so there's that level of discipline, level of consistency. Uh, just, I haven't missed one. I do one per week, and I haven't missed one for almost 3 years now, right? Whether it's going to be a solo episode or a guest, you're going to have your bumps and bruises along the way where people show up or you're sick or something like that. So you just got to be prepared. Um, those are the things that allow me to keep growing and then joining, like, for example, like entrepreneur groups and stuff. So you're getting around all these different people, and yeah, it's separate from the podcast, but now you can kind of leverage yourself, right? And say, I have a podcast, and they go, you do? And they want to be on there. They want to get in front of another audience and stuff. And so now you're diving in deeper into these entrepreneurs and they've all gone through stuff that you
Hmm.
don't even know, right? And now they
True.
have a business. Yeah. And so the connection, the communication expands from there. To get going and to have a podcast,
Hmm.
I recommend knowing your why, your reason, your desire. And so I created a free PDF for that because I think you have to have that. I believe that's what you need to keep carrying through this. And that's why I still do what I do today. Because if I put money on this or if I put the audience on this, then I would have given up a long time ago. And that's why 90% don't get past episode 3 because they think it's just going to happen overnight, that they're going to have this massive audience, they're going to make all this money, and that's not the case. Like, this is a long game. You can even go back and hear Alex Hormozy and all the other big names out there, right? I can't think of the guy's name on Spotify right now, but the big ones, they'll tell you the same thing. Like they've been doing it for almost 5 years before it started to blow up, right? But they kept showing up every day and putting in the reps, and they would become a better communicator. They might even be editing their own videos and stuff like that, and so they get better at editing before they can outsource it. So you learn all the little avenues of podcasting, which I highly recommend to do if you have the time and the capability to do so. Because then when you do hire it out, then you know what to expect from these people that you're looking to hire it out to. And that, if you want to talk about a little bit about like, do you do solo or do you do guest? I believe that's entirely up to you. What's your why, right? So some people might have their own business and might be an expert in something that they can show up as a solo, do solo episodes, for so long, but then they might get tired and they might bring guests in because they need some kind of, balance in a way, right? But doing the solo episodes, people get to see you as the expert. They get to hear more about you, your life, your journey on your own podcast. And so when you do have guests come on, they're not going to hear as much as they probably want to hear about you, which makes sense, right? And so now you're highlighting the guest, like you are here, Thomas. You're highlighting me, right? And it's not to say it's bad or good. It's a form of networking and connection here. And so you and I will go back and forth here after and see if there's something we can work on, somewhere down the road, maybe, or hey, somebody else, another podcast is looking for a guest. Here's Thomas. Let's go. Let's see if it works and collaborate that way. So like, that's one thing to think about. Another thing, the lights, the camera, the mic, it's another thing that everybody's always worried about. So they never jump in. I always tell people just start with what you have and go from there. Right. And then you can work your way up because you might, hey, I really like podcasting. I really like creating these solo episodes. I really like connecting with these guests. So then you might say, how do I get better at this? How can I level up and change your microphone, change your lights? There's a woman I know that just does it in her car for 15 minutes on the audio only. And that's simple and easy to do. And she's sharing her book. I know you mentioned to me before how you share your book, and that's just how you get started. And then you start to feel comfortable and you're getting out there and not afraid of people hearing you or seeing you and, saying bad things. Right. So now you're just being you, being authentic and vulnerable and going at it.
I believe those particular words are very, very powerful because people at times they forget about being authentic, being vulnerable, because it's not only about the spotlight on the guest, but it's a spotlight on you also. And of course, being prepared. And of course, there are different podcasters like me. I mean, I don't have a script of questions. I just follow my intuition and it becomes more of a conversation. It's not about the scripted questions that I have. So, when you went through your journey as a podcaster, what were some of the highs and what were some of the lows that you faced or are still facing and may continue to face?
Yeah. So for me, the highs was like last summer, I probably had such a huge backlog of episodes to release. And me as a podcaster, I kind of felt like, I'm sorry, we did this so long ago. It's going to be pushed out another 2-3 months before I can actually launch it because I'm doing one per week. In my eyes, I felt bad, but at least I had the time to record it. So I took that personally, right, on myself. Whereas the guest wasn't really reaching out to me, wondering where it's at or anything like that. They just, okay, I trust Jon and he's going to release it and let me know when it comes out. I had a few maybe just reach out, which was fine, which I tell everybody, just nudge me, find out what's going on. I would say that was probably one of the highs there because I got to connect with so many people as fast as possible. And it grew my network so fast instead of just, hey, let's push this off another week. Let's push this off another week. So I know I can launch it, sooner than later for you. So you can think it's pretty fresh. Now, right now, if you want to look at the same thing, I guess you could say it's a low. But, I have I just released one today and I have two in the backlog at the moment where, I was having like five or so. And if you have such a large amount of backlog, that's great. Because this year, this January, I stopped for a month. And when I say I stopped, I didn't record anything. I didn't do interviews because I already had them. And so I was able to focus on my live event I hosted and then, a speaking arrangement that I was doing for the first time. So I just wanted to put focus on that, even though I had the podcast episodes lined up and ready to come out. So that's something to think about too. And I'm not one for seasons. I don't want to create something, then drop off and then jump back in. So I just wanted to keep showing up every week. So I had that capability there. So right now, I guess my low would be I don't have enough in the backlog, but I do have a very large list of people that are ready to come on whenever I release my calendar, which, should be coming out in the next few weeks or so.
Fantastic. I can totally understand that because at one point of time, I was, again, you as a podcast, you will know when people come and tap on your shoulder, hey, listen, I'm ready for a podcast. And then you say, okay. And I can totally understand. You cannot say really or no because they want a story to say. And there were one point of time wherein I had around 3 episodes per week, and then I felt it was putting out too much on my social media. And then now currently I've got it down to 1 or 2 per week, where it is a little more manageable, much more easier, and that's where I work around. A question that comes up over here is that you mentioned the calendar which is going to be coming in. But if you take a few moment of what is there or what is that you really do apart from podcasting, because I know you got a lot of things on the go. And what are the key projects that you got in the next few weeks, few months, few years? What's your aspiration? If it is okay for you
You're
to
prying it
say
out of me. That's what you're doing. So I'll start off with I did create a coaching program, so people don't hesitate like I did, and they can go ahead and start a podcast. And I want them to start and keep moving forward, right? So I created that. That's called Prevent Podcast-rastination. So that
nice.
yeah, right. So it fits well. I love it. Outside of that, I created the Podcasters Hub, which is a community of other podcasters, some that don't have one yet, but they're around others so they can learn and grow, not just from me, but from others. And so within that, we meet twice a month. I have special guests come in, and then I also am creating awards, and I want to do giveaways. And then they have the first opportunity to be part of the live events I'm creating. And so that dives me into what I'm working on for next year. I'm working on something where it's going to be an experience where we can meet in person. You can bring your own guest and you'll be asking them questions just like it would be on your own podcast. And that's exactly what it would be. It'd be live in front of an audience, not just, the guests and the other podcasters that are there to do theirs as well, but hopefully other people from outside just want to hear the stories or whatever that podcast is about. And then there would be a whole bunch of cameras and stuff, not just on you, but around the audience and stuff going on as well. So you get a whole bunch of media and stuff a lot of stuff for social media you can push out. So I'm working on that right now. And I think it'd be really fun. I get a lot of good feedback from the idea, the vision there. And so that would be coming around February, March of next year. Because by then I'll be my 200th episode. And so that's when I'm going to be doing my 200th episode. So it just fit well. And if this goes well, like I think it's going to, then I'll plan another one for later next year. And then the other event I'm working on, instead of a retreat, we all like to go on retreats and just lay around and get to connect with people. Well, I like to do an adventure. So I like to do a podcast adventure.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So we're, Thomas, if you came and you wanted to share, this is my hobby, this is what I love to do, would you like to take part of this with me for about an hour tomorrow? And that's the adventure. If it's biking or running, right? And so that's part of the adventure part. And then it would be like I want workshops. So people come and they bring their laptop, they bring their episode they're working on, and we just dive deep into like, this is how this one expert shares. This is how I do things. You do it. It's done. You don't go home and try to figure it all out on your own again. It's already done, and you can close up the laptop, and now you're going on to another adventure later on. Where is it going to be? I don't know yet. I'm figuring that all out. Cost, I'm figuring that all out. But I would love it to be in some area where, let's just say you could raft, or you can go hiking, or go,
Wonderful.
fishing, some kind of an adventure, right? That, instead of, where the opportunity is where people, I really love for the people that come to share their love, their desire, as an entrepreneur or whatever that is, why they're podcasting. Like, for instance, a woman I know does breath work, right? Well, why not just offer 30 minutes to do breath work, right?
Yes.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. So those are the things I'm working on. And sorry, one more thing, Thomas. I'm working on an anthology. So it'd be 30 podcast guests I've had, and some that are still yet to come, if they can squeeze it in and say they're committed to be part of this, so that your journey can get now in hands of others in print form, and also audio video, where they can go back and listen and watch the episode. But the chapter doesn't have to be anything related to the episode. So I'm working on that right now too. So that's in the works to come out hopefully April, May of next year.
That's so wonderful one. That's incredible. Two things which comes up is, okay, guys, I will be putting out John's connection information in the comments below. So if there is some vibration within you saying that, okay, let me explore what podcasting is about, or you're already onto the journey of being a podcaster, or maybe that you are already an established podcaster, but hey, you know what? It's a community that makes the world better. As I always say, is that we all are angels with one wing, and when we hold another, that's when we fly higher. So who knows who we may be meeting, the next person in our community, and see on what it works around. My question, just being mindful of the time, is that you mentioned about prevent podcastination or procrastination.
All right.
So, if I would ask you to just mention around 3 or 4 steps for people who are still hesitating, who feel that there is something that they want to do, but they're not too sure, what would be not an advice, but what are the suggestions? Of course, you did mention they got to be authentic, vulnerable, they got to know the why. But for a lot of people to find out their why, or to know about, because people like to hide behind shadows. But what suggestions would you give to those people who would like to maybe try it out, or maybe want to get into it? What's your thoughts and what's your comments on
Yeah.
it?
And they have a little bit of fear, right?
Yes, very, very much, of course.
Yeah.
If there was no fear, then hide nothing, fear nothing.
Right. So I would coach them to go as cheap as possible, right? Try to do everything for free or limited, budget, because they're going to learn and experience this and say, okay, is this really what I want to do? Right now, hopefully with their why and everything like that, they say, yeah, I'm all in. Let's go all in. And then, like I said, work with what you have, and then we can grow from there. As far as, like, let's just say you're going to record the episodes, like, you don't have to do video if you're afraid of video. I would say turn it on and record it, but it doesn't mean you have to go out and post it, right? At least it's there if you ever want to go back. And, most podcasts are, they started with audio and they're still audio. And that's basically what a podcast is an RSS feed, not a YouTube channel, right? We just see it as it is today because all these big names are doing YouTube channels on their podcast, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's another medium. People might want to watch it. I'm sure they love to watch the clips more than a full 1-hour episode of Joe Rogan always talking, right? So I would say that, try. And so I offered, somebody before, because she never did it. And I said, well, why don't we jump on a 20-minute call on Zoom and we'll record it. And you just pretend, talk to me like I'm there, but I'm not asking you questions or anything, just so that you're comfortable to share it with somebody else. Because it is kind of hard to talk to a camera, a lens, it's just the weirdest thing in the beginning, right? And
So
here, yeah, it's weird. Um, so there's that opportunity too. Like you could talk to somebody and they don't have to say anything on the other side. And so I did a podcast where my father passed away a while ago, but I wanted to do an episode where I learned stuff from him just by his actions, right? And so for me to express that, I felt like somebody I had to be on the side. So I had my friend jump on and he just listened to me for probably half an hour or whatever, just talk about the outline I had about my father and stuff. He did ask me questions at the end, which was fine, but it allowed me to show up vulnerable and have my emotions and share at a deeper impact, I believe, instead of just talking to a camera. So like there's that opportunity. I also want you to think too, who are you talking to? Who's your audience, right? And so it could be that entrepreneur, it could be that person that's out there. But there's also that, for me, like there's also that drive to keep showing up. So hopefully one day my kids can see this and stuff. So like you might want a picture of that person or those people around, it could be around the camera, it could be around the TV or whatever the monitor you have. That way you're reminding yourself, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing as well. With that being said, Thomas, I was able to get on stage. It's been about a month now. For a men's conference, and I was able to share parts of my divorce and being a man and like communicating with a woman. And so I had the opportunity to take my son, and he's 15, but he was there. And so people welcomed that, and like that's what I want. Like he had no idea. He said he didn't know I was speaking, even though I know I told him I was speaking. But regardless, just having them there and being around other people that have experienced things, and for him to get that knowledge and that experience of being with those people is going to far outweigh everything that he's going to learn in school down the road. Like he might not see it now, he might not feel it now, but there was a moment before the event, before we were speaking, we just did like a conference room. We were live on Facebook or something. And the one woman that was doing this asked a question, how I felt that he was there. And I said, damn good. It was pretty much just that. And that was enough for him just to show his emotions. And that was enough for me as a father to say, this was well worth it. Right. And so I challenge whoever's going to take this podcast and take it to the next level. Do it for the youth, do it for your kids, your grandkids, because now it's out there. It's an audio video form, most likely forever somewhere. So just keep moving forward with it. There's a reason, your reason why, whatever. Yeah, I keep coming back to that, but other people need to hear it, whether it's just your solo episodes or other guests, they need to hear it, and, just put it out there, and somebody's going to find it one way or another, and it's going to be that right person at the right time.
that's absolutely wonderful. And again, it may be that whether it's found or not, but then if there is a stirring within, go ahead and do it. You got one life. Might as well make it shine brightly. So with this, John, thank you so very much for your space and time. So guys, here in this last few minutes, we learned a little more about what the world of podcasting is all about. John, thank you so very much, and wish you all the best in this journey.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.